and welcome to our second video on managing life with MS. So today we are going to be talking about the not so pleasant topic of injections. This is something that me and Dizzy absolutely hate. I've always hated injections, and even looking at them, thinking about them, or being anywhere near them has been enough to make me faint. So, when I found out that I was going to have to take injections 3 times a week at home, I really didn't think that I would be able to manage it. And I know that a lot of other people feel the same way. So, over the last 6 weeks, we have had quite a little bit of practice and we've come up with these top 10 tips that have made it so much easier for us and have meant that we've been able to get through, especially the tricky time at the beginning of starting on a new medication. Number one is to ask for help. This can be something that a lot of us struggle with. I know that I used to, but there are so many people out there that would be happy to help chat to you if you've got any fears or any questions. It could be your nurse or your neurologist, or maybe if you've got a specialist injection nurse, and also other people out there in the same community as you that have also gone through the same experience and are trying out the same injection. This can be amazing for picking up tricks, but also for helping to eliminate any of those fears that we have. Also, if you're lucky, like me and Dizzy, to have someone in the house that isn't so nervous about injections, maybe have a chat with them and ask if they'll be able to do that first one for you. As just getting through that first one and realizing that it's not as scary as you thought can be amazing and can really help start your journey with the injections off. Number two is to practice. This can be really important just for getting more confident with handling the injection and feeling like you know what you're doing. We didn't get one, but we do know that if you speak to your nurse, you are able to get a little practice pad. Apparently, it is the same consistency as your tummy, and you can practice stabbing it and just using it to see how quickly you can press the syringe down and how everything works. I'm kind of sad we didn't get one because it also sounds like it'd be amazing for stress relief as well. Number three, be aware of possible side effects. Now, this is something that for me is super scary. The medication that I'm now on, I was actually meant to start when I was first diagnosed 6 years ago. But I sat there and I read through all of the possible side effects until I got myself in such a state that I couldn't even consider doing it, especially on top of the fact that it was with needly things as well. So I didn't, and it's taken me 6 years to actually start it. Be careful, don't get too worried because a lot of the major side effects are very, very, very rare. And I think it's a good idea to keep that in mind. But it's also a good idea just to be aware of the side effects that are quite common. So with mine, especially on the first one, it stung quite a lot afterwards and the area went quite red. I knew that this was really, really common, and especially on your first one when areas are getting used to something new. But if I hadn't known that, I probably would have been convinced that I was dying within about 10 seconds. So just let yourself know what to expect so you know that it's nothing serious and that it is really normal. Number four, do what's easiest and what's right for you. There is so much information out there which is amazing, but you also need to take into consideration what you feel like you're able to manage. So when you have your self-injections at home, most of the time you will be given an auto-injector, which means that you can pop the needle inside, you don't need to look at it, and you just press a button and it will do everything for you. I'd done loads of research and I was aware that doing it manually was kind of on the skin, which is something that I'm afraid I did think about being a little bit vain. But I knew at the beginning that there was no way that I would be able to look at the injection. So I went for the auto injector and have now switched over to manual. So it's just being aware of what you can manage and don't put in any extra stress on yourself, feeling that you should do one thing over the other because they're both just as good as each other. Number five, be comfy. You're in your own home, you have control over this. And one of the things that really helped me, especially on the first couple, was to get a nice snuggly blanket, my nice pillow, Dizzy of course, and just to make myself feel as relaxed and cozy and warm as possible, because feeling that extra safety will really help you get through this. Number six, which leads on nicely from number five, is to have some relaxing music on in the background. I found that when the house was silent, I was thinking way too much about the injection. Now, of course, it does need some level of concentration, so I'm not saying to be playing Monopoly at the same time or anything, but by having some music or maybe a program on in the background, it can just make everything seem a little bit calmer and more relaxed and settled. So when I did my first one myself, which I did get in a little bit of a state about, I put Friends on in the background just because having something light-hearted and a little bit funny on that was just a slight distraction really made everything feel much more peaceful. Number seven, move confidently. Now, this is something that Dizzy does not have any problem with, but I find a little bit tricky, especially when it comes to needles. The first time I did one, I did not move confidently at all, and I was getting really frustrated because I couldn't understand why I couldn't do it. I had the needle, and literally, I was barely touching the skin. I don't even think I was touching it a couple of times, which meant obviously it did not go into the skin. But being a bit more confident and after a couple of goes and building myself up, actually it went through the skin really, really, really easily. And I could have saved myself a lot of stress and a lot of worry and a lot of frustration if I'd just gone for it that first time. So it is something that's hard, it is really hard, but just remember that you've got this and you can do it. Number eight is to breathe. Now, there is a reason why they always tell us to take deep breaths when we're ever feeling nervous or a little bit jittery, and it can really help. So, I always take a few deep breaths just before I start. And I also find that during the injection, it's really helpful to count them because I'm always super surprised by how few I get to before it's all over. It also means that by counting them, not only does it relax and calm our bodies down a little bit, but it also gives us something else to focus on, so we're thinking about counting and not just the nerves. Number nine is to keep in mind why you're doing this. Now, injections are scary, and if I had another option, I would probably choose not to take them. But if you have been prescribed them, it's because they're there to help you keep control and manage your condition. And that's something that's really important to keep in mind. Relapses with multiple sclerosis are not the best. And if I had the option of relapse or a couple of seconds of discomfort a couple of times a week, I know that I would definitely go for the injections. And it can feel really empowering to know that we're doing something to help give us a little bit control and look after ourselves as well. Also, with injections, there's something that I never thought I would be able to do. When I go to the doctors, I can't even look at them because otherwise I will pass out and I will end up on the floor. But actually, realizing now that I am managing them, I'm doing them, for me is amazing, and I always think things like that deserve a moment of recognition. Number 10 is to have a treat planned. Now, this is something that me and Dizzy found to be amazing to help us get through our injections. So before you do them, make sure that you've got a yummy treat planned, and also pick a film or a TV series so you know that after a couple of seconds of discomfort, you've got a whole evening of lovely squidgy warm things to look forward to. We hope that these tips have been helpful for you, and thank you so much for watching. If you have any of your own tips that we haven't mentioned, then please just drop them down below, because as you'll know, we've got to carry on with our injection adventure, and it's always lovely to know if there's any other tips out there that we've missed. We hope that you're having a wonderful start to the new year, and see you soon. Bye bye.